Continuing our series Under the Radar, it's a chance for you to meet some of the many 2008 contenders, the ones who aren't necessarily grabbing all the headlines all the time, like a Republican congressman who's been serving his home state of Colorado for 9 years. He's a school teacher by trade, and he has been a crusader for immigration reform in this country for years. Congressman Tom Tancredo is our guest. And Congressman, thanks for being with us.
It's a pleasure. Pleasure to join you.
We're going to talk about immigration in a moment. Everybody really knows your name connected with immigration, but I have to ask you about this first. It just came over the wires. I'm going to read you the first sentence of this wire copy. Colorado Republican Tom Tancredo, an outspoken opponent of illegal immigration, will announce his bid for president on Monday. Is that true, sir?
Well, we'll have to wait till Monday to find out.
Oh, come on now. Come on now.
Now, if I said any more about it, then the whole thing would really be worthless, and it would be a big surprise. It could be Tuesday, it could be Wednesday, it could be Monday.
All right, but we should be watching what you're doing on Monday, considering you're in Iowa.
That's exactly
and
right.
All right.
I am, after all, in Iowa, and I do love Iowa, and everybody should come out here this time of the year.
All right. Let's talk about a story that is dominating the news this week, the probe into the firing of the 8 U.S. attorneys. We heard Justice Department aide Kyle Sampson say yesterday that Attorney General Gonzalez misstated his role. In your opinion, is it time for the Attorney General to step down?
Yes, I called for his removal, but I did so for reasons other than the removal of the 8 attorneys general. I did so because of his miserable performance in enforcing the law, or lack thereof, I should say, with regard to immigration. I could go through a litany of complaints I've had with the Attorney General. We've written him on I don't know how many occasions. He has not used his resources correctly in the enforcement of immigration law, and that's why I'd like to see him go. The fact is that the dismissal of these 8 attorneys general, frankly, it was probably handled clumsily, and I don't know whether or not now he's gotten into more trouble by misstating the facts in front of the committee, but in the actual firing of the people that were there, hey, big deal. These are all political appointees, and you can fire a political appointee anytime. I was one, didn't get fired, but I know that I could have been any day.
Congressman, you told a New Hampshire crowd that, quote, we need to let Iraq begin running Iraq. Now, that really doesn't sound a whole lot different from what many Democratic contenders are calling for. Where do you differ on a way forward?
Well, for one thing, I don't believe that the Congress of the United States can micromanage this war. I am a congressman. I can state my view on the war. I can state my view on our situation in the Middle East. I could tell you what I would do if I were president of the United States. But one thing I cannot do as a member of Congress is actually start to manage the war. That is what you hand over to the generals and the people on the ground and the President of the United States. He is the commander-in-chief. So all of these attempts in the Congress by the Democrats to actually construct bills to fund the war effort based upon management of the actual of the war, they are improper uses of our authority. We do not and should not do that.
Well, Congressman, if you were president, you're running for president, if you were president at this moment, and the next president surely is going to have to deal with Iraq, what would you do?
We would disengage. We would disengage. We would not withdraw. And those are two very different things and very important to understand. And I think that's exactly where we're going, by the way. If you heard what the president said when he addressed the nation, he was very clear. He said by November, he established a benchmark himself. He said by November, all of Iraq will be under the control of the Iraqi government. He said that he was losing patience with Iraq, as were the American people. So I think we're heading in the same place. I just am saying that the Congress itself should not be in the business of micromanaging the war.
One of the most difficult situations that your state has confronted was obviously the massacre at Columbine, and it happened in your district. And you once said, I don't think that I've ever been so affected by an event in my political life. Did it impact your views on the Second Amendment?
No, because frankly, the Second Amendment is, you know, it really is a separate issue entirely. The right of people to keep and bear arms is one that is clearly and demonstrably there. It should not be violated. And in this case, you know, we can look at a whole bunch of reasons why it happened, and there are controls in place that I can support. I mean, you know, I certainly don't, you're not going to be handing out handguns to people in the state prisons because it says everybody can have a gun. No, everybody can't. But if you're a law-abiding citizen of this country, you should be able to have it and keep a gun. And by the way, If the district court ruling in Washington is able to stand with regard to the D.C. law, and if it gets to the Supreme Court and it's ruled that they cannot stop people from carrying a weapon, D.C. will be a safer place.
So you support the NRA and vice versa?
Well, absolutely, yeah. I certainly hope they support me. Yes, I support them.
All right, let's go on to immigration. You proposed a plan that would in part lower the number of immigrants, legal and illegal, entering the United States. The big question a lot of people have is, what do you do with the millions of illegal immigrants who are already here?
You establish a process of attrition. By that, I mean this. If you begin to enforce the law in this country, which I know is a novel idea with regard to immigration, but if you do enforce the law, both on the border and inside the country, if you go after employers who are really creating the magnet that pulls all of these folks into the country, if you stop the jobs, if you do not allow illegal immigrants to obtain jobs in this country, millions return home because the thing for which they came is no longer available. Then if people still refuse to go home if they're here illegally, you deport them. That's the law. We should not continue to ignore it.
Congressman,
but we would not have to do so in huge numbers because, believe me, millions do return home when the thing for which they came is not available.
Congressman Tom Tancredo, you still don't want to tell me what's going to happen on Monday?
Tune in on Monday.
That's a Cheshire Cat smile if I ever saw one. Congressman, thanks for your time.